Right now, as you watch the screen, something inside you is doing the watching. But if we try to pinpoint exactly what that is, the physical evidence completely fails us. Science calls this the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem of consciousness is the philosophical mystery of how physical matter in the brain actually creates subjective internal feelings. We can scan the brain and track blood flow, but we cannot locate the physical seat of your personal experience. Part of the struggle comes down to language. In the West, we lump wakefulness, self-awareness, and the concept of a soul into one untestable bucket called consciousness. This creates a massive wall for modern researchers. Astrophysicists like Neil deGrasse Tyson have suggested that scientists might be dancing around a pole that isn't actually there, searching for a physical object that simply does not exist. Thousands of years ago, Indian philosophers addressed this by identifying the experiencer as something separate from physical matter. Searching for consciousness under a microscope is a doomed mission, because the self you feel right now acts as an event rather than a static entity. To understand this illusion of the self, we must strip away our assumptions about the soul, looking past human emotion, thought, or personality. In Hindu philosophy, this base layer is called the Atma. The Atma is an omnipresent, changeless reality. It does not think, it holds no memories, and it feels nothing on its own. Think of the Atma like electricity in a house. It provides raw power for machines to work, but possesses zero intelligence. The electricity is indifferent to the cool breeze coming off a fan's blades. It powers the possibility of experience without experiencing human life itself. While the Atma serves as the foundation for reality, in isolation it remains blind and numb. If the base power source is numb, how do living things actually react to their environment? This brings us to Chaitanya, or sentience. A Western theory called panpsychism suggests a bottom-up approach. Every atom has a tiny bit of consciousness, adding up to a human mind. The Indian framework describes a top-down mechanism. Physical matter acts as an antenna, reflecting the omnipresent Atma based on its structural density. A virus has a very low level of sentience. Its basic biological antenna only reflects enough Atma to perform simple, dormant to active functions. More complex biological machines have a higher capacity. A fish coordinates movement because its complex nervous system reflects a higher amount of that background potential. Evolution represents nature's attempt to build increasingly complex antennas to tune into a signal that is already everywhere. This leads to a essential paradox. If the Atma is blind and the body is an antenna, who exactly is listening to these words? The answer in Indian philosophy is the jiva. Think of your body as a smartphone's hardware, matter waiting for a spark. Layered on top is your mind, the inner software. Inside that app is your ego, the specific user profile and identity you call you. The actual experience occurs when the electricity, the Atma, searches through this specific, temporary combination of hardware, software, and profile. The jiva, the living being you call yourself, is the emergent process of scrolling through these layers. This explains why a scientist can never find consciousness under a microscope. You cannot physically isolate the process of scrolling from the hardware and code that create it. When death occurs, the brain, the hardware, breaks. That specific combination shatters, and the process ends. But the underlying power source, the Atma, remains completely untouched. This brings us to a fascinating modern problem. If consciousness is simply matter arranged densely enough to reflect the Atma, what happens when we start building our own complex structures? As artificial intelligence evolves, we must ask, can human-engineered silicon eventually become an antenna complex enough to spark its own jiva? The idea of a tiny soul sitting just behind your eyes watching a movie of your life is an illusion. Human existence functions as a beautiful, highly complex, and entirely temporary verb.